Hey guys, welcome back to How to Code a Spigot plugin for 1.15. This is episode 5, and if you've been following along, you know this episode will be going over items and more specifically listeners. This is listeners part 1. And in this this episode, we'll be doing the plugin God Boots. So what this plugin does for you, when you type in /God Boots, you get this message saying, the gods of Minecraft gave you a gift. The gift are these boots. To be a Boots of Leaping, that's the name of the boots, a custom name. The lore is boots made for Minecraft gods. And of course, it has the enchantment of unbreakable, which means that these will never break. And when I put them on me, when I jump, you'll see I fly through the sky. If you notice, when I fly through the sky and I land, I'm not taking any damage. And I have fly off, right? I fly off, I have God mode off, and I'm not taking any damage. And this is because I have a listener listening to what I'm doing right now and making sure I'm not taking damage. If I take the boots off, of course, I'll still have damage. I don't know how to demonstrate that. Let's jump up here. When I take the boots off, I'll still take damage. When I have the boots on, I won't take damage. Now, this plugin will be going over two listeners. The listener to fly through the sky and the listener for the falling part. It also contains one method where we'll go over the custom item. So let's get right into it. Inside your Pack Explorer, go to New, Java Project. This project, we'll name it God Boots. Head over to the Next button. Go up to the Libraries tab. Go to Add External Jars. Spigot 1.15.1. Of course, we add whatever Spigot version you are coding on. If you're coding on 1.8, add 1.8. If you're coding on 1.25 from the future, add 1.25. Once you have Spigot in, press Finish. Open up the God Boots project. Go to SRC, go to Package, and we're going to create our first package. If you have a website, put your website in here. If your website is com.minecraftgod, put your Minecraft God website, dot it with the name of the project, which is God Boots. Sadly, I don't have a Minecraft God website, so I'm going to do me.codedred. If you don't have a website, you can do me.yourname.the project, the name. Once you have the package created, press New. I'm going to right click on it, go to New, go to Class, and we're going to create our main class. You're going to do the famous 3 things, and that is extends Java plugin. I'm pressing Control-Shift-O to automatically import that. And then you are going to create the on-enable and on-disable. Now, if you're going to be following on for the rest of the series, you're going to be typing this in a lot. And I'm a pretty lazy guy, so I created a shortcut for this. So when I type Control space, and if I scroll down to my templates, there it is. I have this on and off template. So on and off, the same thing I do every single time, and that's exactly correct. When I press enter, it's going to create my on enable, my on disable, and it's also going to create my on command for me. So I'm going to go ahead and import that, and I'm done. To do this, it's pretty easy. Head over to your Windows at the top. Go to Preferences. Inside Preferences, let's close that up. Inside Preferences, you go into Java. You go into the editor, and you're going to locate templates. Once you're over here, once you're in the templates screen, go up to New, and here's your template. My name of the template was on and off. Your name could be whatever you want. It could be same stupid methods I do all the time. And then you can put a description in here, and then here is where you put the code in here. Press OK once you're done. Apply and close. Press apply and close when you're completely finished. And now when you have this all in there, like I did earlier, you press Control space and just look for your template. Same stupid method I do all the time. And there you go. Your code that you put in there will go automatically into your environment. You're going to see me do this now on for most of the series. It's because I don't really want to go over these 3 things again and again and again. This is episode 5. Y'all should know how to do it. So let's get into the command, the actual God boots command. So our command is /godboots. To do this, we're going to say if the label dot equals ignore case God boots. What are we going to say? Well, we're going to first say if the sender is instance of a player. We want to make sure that the sender is a player and not a console. And this if statement right here is saying if the sender is not a player, we'll go ahead and kick them out. Sender.send message. Sorry, console. You're not allowed to fly. All right. Now that we know that the sender is a player, let's go ahead and create the player. Player equals the cast of a player to the sender. All right. Now that we have this player created, we're going to go ahead and, so when we type in God boots, we want to add in those boots. So when a user, back to the server. So when a user types in God boots, what we want them to do is give them this item. And to do this, we need to create the item. So get out of this method real quick. Get out of that method, and we're going to create a new method. And this new method is going to be called getItem. So public, it's going to return an item stack. And the name of this method is getItem. Go ahead and import item stack, and we're going to import not the 1.15 one, just the normal item stack one. You can type in return null for now to get rid of that red underline. And what are we going to put in here? Well, let's create our item stack. So an item stack in Spigot API in Minecraft is basically an item. It's just a data type for an item. And this boots right here is just a name. I can make an item if I want it. I'm going to name my item stack boots. And to create an item, we're going to do item stack boots equal new item stack. And inside here, you're going to pass in a material. When you type in material dot, you'll see all the different things you are able to do. I will say this is the number one thing. I said Spigot is backwards compatible. Now, this is the number one thing that you're going to be having trouble with older versions. When we get into config files, I'll show you guys more about backwards compatibility and stuff. As you see, we just head into the legacy. So the legacy is below 1.12 and below blocks. Your see material has like thousands of blocks. The block that we want though is diamond boots. Awesome. Now that we have our boots item created, if you type in boots dot, you'll see all the different things you can do with boots. But what we're going to do is first create an item meta. We're going to do item meta equals boots dot get item meta. We're going to go ahead and import item meta, and I'm going to explain what this is. Item meta is basically everything you can do with a boot. You want to use meta for updating the item name, the lore. You want to add enchantments through meta, add item flags, the unbreakable. Everything to edit an item, you're going to be using this item meta. You don't really, when I add an enchant, I'm not doing boots.add enchant. I'm going to do meta.add enchant. You add the item, all the stuff for an item through meta. So, like I said, we're going to add everything through meta. So meta.set display name. Our display name will be chatcolor.green. And I want to make it bold, so chatcolor.green, pass in that, chatcolor.bold. And I want to say boots of leaping. Next, we're going to add in our lore. To add in lore, it's going to be an array list. I don't think we went over this yet, and if you're new to Java, might want to pay attention to this part. So, a list of strings. So we'll go ahead and import the list real quick. So this right here is a data type, list strings. It's a list of strings. You know what a string is? This right here is just a list of them. There's going to be a bunch of them. And to create a lore, we're going to set lore equal to a new array list of strings. Go ahead and import array list. All right, we created lore. What do we want to do with lore? Well, let's add lore. The first thing I'm going to do is lore.add, and I want to do nothing here. And the reason why I'm going to do nothing is so I can get that little space after the name. I like to add a space after it just so, it looks a little nicer, I think. If you don't want to add a space, you don't have to. But this will add the blank space. Next, I'm going to do lore add. I'm going to do checkcolor.gold. And I'm going to do italics. I personally usually make all the lores italic. Just how I roll with lores. And this one's going to be boots. What did I say? Boots made for the Minecraft gods. And done. And like I said, this is a list of strings. So this is one string. This is the second string. That's what a list string is. Just multiple strings in one data type, I would say. So multiple strings in this lore. Once you added all those values to the lore, being set the lore. So do meta dot set lore. And you see set lore takes a list string. So that's why we created this list string up here. And you're just going to pass in lore. So far, this boots item has a name, boots of leaping, and also has a lore. Next, we're going to add in the enchant to make it look a little nicer. We're going to do meta.add enchant. And I'm going to type in enchant. Enchant. Type in enchantment. Dot. And you'll see all the different enchantments you can do. I'm going to do protection fall. And it really does not matter what you put in here for the protection value. And make sure this is true. I can do 1 to 1,000. It doesn't matter because we're going to add a listener in. So it doesn't matter if they have protection 0. They will not take damage because we got to add a listener in. Finally, I want to do a few things here. I want to do meta.add item flag. I'm going to do item flag dot hide enchantments. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to add one more flag. Dot hide attributes. And I do this because when I look at this, I don't want to see that I have protection 1, and I don't want to see how much, armor it gives me, whatever, the attributes. I just want to see the lore, and I want to see the name. I want the item to look custom, not like it's a Minecraft item. I want to make it look custom. So I'm going to hide the enchantments from it. I'm going to hide the attributes. So the attributes, if you're making a custom sword and it says +7 damage, if you do this item flag here of hide attributes, it will hide the +7 damage. Finally, we're going to set the meta to unbreakable. We'll say true. And the last thing you need to do after you edited all the meta, you are going to set the boots. You're going to do set item meta to meta. This is very important to make sure you have that in. After you edit all the meta, you want to make sure the item actually has the meta. Finally, we return boots. All right, we are at 14 minutes so far in this video. I'm going to try to finish the rest in 10 minutes, but this video might go a little bit over because we didn't even hit listeners yet, but we'll go right to it right after this. Now that we have this get item method, you can go ahead and give the player that item. And to do this, you're going to do player.get inventory.add item. And you're going to add the item of get item. You just want to call this method down here. So we're going to do player.inventory, the item, get item. And we can send that little message, player.send message, check color.gold, the Minecraft Legends gave you a gift. Now there is one problem with what we just did here. This will work perfectly fine. It will give the player the item. But what if their inventory is full? This is where we run into an error. If their inventory is full, we can't give them an item. But we can do something else. We can drop that item right under their feet. And that's what we're going to do. So if the player.getInventory .get first empty equals -1. So that means not found. So if the first empty is nothing, -1, that means the inventory is full. So this means inventory is full. And now we can do a little bit of location action. So we'll do location lock, and that's just the name of my location. I'm gonna import location. It's org.bucket location. And our location is going to be equal to player.getLocation. Oh god. Get location. We also want to make a world. Our world is equal to player.getWorld. Go ahead and import world. And that's a bucket world, not the 1.81, 1.15 one. And then finally, once we created our world, do world dot drop item naturally, and the location is lock, and the item is get item. And then we want to send them a message saying player.send message, check color.gold, the Minecraft Legends dropped a gift near you. All right. Going on over this a little fast because I want to get into the listener soon. So what it basically does, it says if the player's inventory is full, if their first empty is -1, it means the inventory is full. Go ahead and we're to get their location through location. Player.getLocation. We're get the world they're in. We need to know what world we're dropping the block in. Once we know the world, do world.drop item naturally. We drop the item at the location, the player location, and then we drop the item. And then we can say return true. And finally, we can get right into the listeners. If I were to export this plugin as is right now, God boots. If I were to export the plugin, reload the server, and hop into the server. If I type in, let's clear my inventory. If I type in /God boots, oh wait, before we do that, create the plugin.yml. Plugin.yml. What I'm doing right here is I'm creating the plugin.yml because every single plugin needs a plugin.yml. You should be used to this in episode 5 now, I'm pretty sure. We are going to be adding one thing to this plugin.yml. Commands, 2 spaces, God boots. And that one thing is an API version. And the API version, it's going to be a little weird. The API version that we're adding into this is 1.13. I will explain that later, but for right now, type in 1.13. Okay, now that we have plugin.yml, go ahead and export this, reload my server. And now we can type God boots, and you'll see we got the God boots. Now, what happens now? I have my guide boots, but you see, I'm not jumping. I'm not flying through the sky. That's because we haven't added the listeners yet. And to do this, head over to the main class again. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. And we're going to add in a public void on jump. Not on hump, on jump. And the event that we will be listening to. So the parameter inside the on jump is going to be player move event. And actually, instead of E, I want to name this event. Go ahead and import player movement. And one more thing. So at the top, for events, you are going to need a listener. So right after Java plugin, just like when you implement a command executor, we're going to implement a listener. Go ahead and import listener. The listener is going to be bucket.event listener. And what this listener does, it listens for our event. And our event is right here. And we signify the event by adding this at event handler. Go ahead and import it. So every event that you have, and I'll leave a link in the description below of every single event in Java, in Spigot API, I mean. Every event that you create, every event method will need this event handler above it. And it just signifies that this is an event and that we should listen to this event. One more thing, in the onEnable, type in this .get server, .get plugin manager, .register, register events, not event, events. And you're going to type in this, you're going to reference this class and this. And now we can listen to all the events in our main class. So once you have implements a listener and you have this in your main class, now this method right here, the jump method or player move method, will work. In the Spigot API, there is no jump method. There's no jump event, sorry. So you have to do a different way. We have to check if the player is jumping on the player move event. And to do this, it can get a little complicated, but we can say if event .get player. I should do this a lot of times. So we're going to do this. Create a player equals the cast of a player to event.get player. And we're going to say if player .get inventory .get boots equals null. Oh, sorry, if we'll say doesn't equals null. Press enter. You don't need any what do you call it, curly braces right now. We're gonna keep going on. We're gonna say if again, if player .get inventory .get boots .get item meta .get display name .contains. If it contains, and our display name is boots of leaping. Now I did contains instead of equals, and there's a reason why, and that's because equals, we won't get equals. Equals for a boot name. So if say right here is where we set our name, the boot name is chat color green, chat color bold, boots of leaping. This right here will be in our display. This right here will be our item name. It's a weird symbol. If you ever looked at it, it's like it's not the and symbol. It's like some curly symbol. It's a color symbol. So instead of doing equals, you do contains. Because if you do equals, you'll have a bunch of symbols in front of it that you don't know. It's not on the keyboard. Not able to type it in. So you want to say contains. So if the item contains boots of leaping, and then we'll do again, if the player dot get inventory dot get boots dot get item meta dot has lore. And I'm doing all this for a reason I'll explain in a second. And then finally, we're doing if event dot get from dot get y is less than less than event dot get to dot get y, and we'll go down a line. Sorry. And we'll say player dot get location dot we do get location dot subtract 0 1 0. I'm gonna explain this in a second. Sorry. Get block dot get type does not equal material dot air. And now we do curly brace. All right, that is a lot of stuff in that method. Let's go over it real quick. So whenever some player moves, we're going to create a player. We're going to check if that player is wearing boots. And if they're not wearing boots, it's not going to keep going down. So if, say, they're not wearing boots, it's just going to kick them right out. We don't care. We don't care about them. We want to make sure they're wearing boots. So if they are wearing boots, let's go back down. Let's see what the boots are. First, we're going to check the name of the boots. We're going to see if the name of the boots equals or contains, if it contains boots of leaping. If it contains boots of leaping, we're going to go back down. And we're going to go back down and check if it has a lore. The reason we're checking it has a lore is because people can put boots in an anvil and they can change the boots to boots of leaping and have the same effect. And we do not want them to do that. We want to make sure the item, the boots of leaping, has a lore because our item has a lore. It's a safe check so people can't cheat our plugin. No one can add a lore to an item through an anvil or through any other block or any other thing. So we're fine. So if the item is boots of leaping and it has a lore, we know it's our item. It's the item that we created. And we can do the jump check. This if statement right here is checking if the player is jumping. And not just only jumping, but jumping from a block. So event.getFrom. Get from right here gets from the position that they are originating from. Get to is the position that they ended at. So we're going to get from or get the Y position. So say they're starting at block 0. The Y is 0. We're going to get to. If their Y is still 0, then this is not less than this. So we don't do anything. We're just going to skip past it. But if the Y right here, the from is 0, and the to is 2. So they jump from Y of 0 to Y of 2. 0 is less than 2. So we're going to do our next check. That means they jumped right here. This alone means they jumped. If it's the from is greater than 2, that means they jumped. And the reason why we do this is because we want to make sure they're jumping from a block and not from air. So if they're flying through the air already and they press spacebar, actually I'll show you. I can show you later. If they're flying through the air, they're constantly moving and they're constantly increasing from their old position. So without this part right here, they'll never fall. Because they're constantly be pulling on this event. This event will constantly be getting called, and they're constantly increasing from to their 2. So they'll just fly through the sky non-stop. This right here will stop them from doing that. After we have all of this in here, we can actually make the player fly. And if you watch episode 3, we're going to do the same exact way. We're going to do player.set velocity, player.get location. Oh, not locale. Get location, .get direction, .multiply 2, .set y 2. And we are done. Go ahead, export your project to your server. Reload the server. Reload the server. Do I have them on? Nope. Let's put on our god boots and let's jump and let's fly through the sky and take damage. And that's because we haven't finished yet. We have one more listener. Past 30 minutes in the video. I'm sorry, but one more listener, and this is going to take just a few more minutes. And it's going to be at event handler. Public void on fall. The event is going to be entity damage event. Go ahead and import entity damage event. And the first thing we need to check is see if the entity is a player. If you notice entity, and I use player up here because there is no, maybe there is player damage event. Let's see. Nope, there is no player damage event. There's only an entity damage event. So we're going to check if the entity is a player. So event.getEntity instance of a player. So this says if the entity is instance of player, go ahead and do what we need to do, and that is create a player. Player equals the cast of a player to event.getEntity. You don't want to do this straight away. You want to make sure that the entity is a player, because entity can mean anything. It can mean creeper, a zombie, an arrow flying through the sky. You want to make sure that entity is a player. I'm sorry if you hear a car horn going off. We're going to go right through it because this video is getting pretty long, so we're just going to keep finishing. So next is if event.getCause. You want to get the cause of the damage. I'm trying not to talk so you don't hear the horn. Cause, and it's, so we want to say event.getCause equals damage cause. And you see there's a bunch of different ways you can take damage in Minecraft. We want to see fall. Next, you want to say if the player, well, actually right here, you can skip some steps and copy these 3 if statements. And that's just checking if they have boots. If they have boots, e.set, you can do event.set canceled to true. Okay, so what I did right here. After we create the player, we want to check if the event is damage. So if the player is taking damage from fall, if they're falling and taking damage, we want to check if they're wearing boots. If we know they're wearing our boots, if they know we're wearing our boots leaping that has lore, we're going to do event.set canceled. And what set cancel does, it cancels all the other events that are existing. So if another plugin is dealing with a damage event, it's going to cancel that if they're wearing these boots. It's going to cancel the basic Spigot damage events that inflicts heart damage. Now that's done, go ahead and export and go right back into the server. Now if I jump, as you see, I fly through the sky and I don't take any damage. All right, and that is it for this video. 35 minutes, new record. And I want to end it before you guys get a headache from the car horn if you do hear it outside. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next episode. We're going over Listeners Part 2, and we're going to go over some items that we can throw. Some new weapons that we're going to create. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.